Hello, my name is Jake, and welcome back to Game Domain. You may have seen our Super Paper Mario lore video from last year, and since so many of you liked that, we decided to make a Lorax video on the 1,000-Year Door. We will be covering important characters, partners, locations, and the chapters, so of course there will be major spoilers. With that being said, let's get into the video. Main Villains, X-Nauts Organization. The X-Nauts are an evil organization led by Sir Grodus, serving as the principal antagonists of the game. The sole objective of the X-Nauts is to reawaken the dormant Shadow Queen using the Crystal Stars, and use her powers to conquer the world. Not a whole lot is known about the organization itself, however their base, the X-Naut Fortress, is located on the moon, implying that the X-Nauts are an alien species. The organization has different ranks and leaders, starting with Sir Grodus at the top, followed by Lord Crump. Below them are the Elite X-Nauts, a selection of the strongest X-Nauts, followed by the X-Nauts PhDs, who serve as the organization's scientists. At the bottom of the hierarchy are the regular X-Naut troopers. Sir Grodus. Grodus is the leader of the X-Nauts and is one of the game's main antagonists. While not much is known about the man's past, we do know the origins of his plan for world domination. Sometime before the start of the 1,000-Year Door, Grodus was informed by the Shadow Sirens of the Shadow Queen being buried deep under Rogueport, and that in order to wake her up from her slumber, he would need to gather all 7 crystal stars. Once he learned this, the leader of the X-Nauts started concocting a plan to reawaken the legendary Shadow Queen and use her to realize his one true dream: world domination. It didn't take him too long to learn the locations of 3 of the stars, which were discovered at Hooktail's castle, the Great Tree, and in Rogueport's sewers. His organization had also gotten their hands on the Magic Map's treasure chest. However, Grodus would enter his first roadblock here. According to the Shadow Sirens, only a maiden of pure heart could open the chest. After some reflection, Grodus came up with a plan. Beldam, the oldest of the Shadow Sirens, would disguise herself as a merchant and go on a search for a pure maiden. She would eventually find Princess Peach in Rogueport. After hearing the news, Grodus sent some troops led by Lord Crump in order to capture the princess, which they managed to successfully do. However, here came the second roadblock, because by that time, the princess had already sent the magical map to Mario. The rest of the game basically consists of Grodus sending in people like the Shadow Sirens, Lord Crump, and Dupless to get in Mario's way, and try to steal the Crystal Stars and map right until Mario acquires the final Crystal Star. In the climax, the leader of the X-Nauts reveals that his plan was actually to let Mario collect all of the stars and have him open the 1,000-Year Door for him. After this reveal, Mario and Grodus engage in a grand battle that ends with the Sir's defeat. As a last resort, Grodus offers the body of Princess Peach as a vessel for the Shadow Queen and orders her to eliminate Mario, only for the Queen to attack him instead. That is when the Shadow Sirens make their appearance and reveal that Sir Grodus was nothing but a pawn whose sole purpose was to reawaken their Shadow Queen. In the game's epilogue, Grodus is revealed to have survived the Shadow Queen's attack and now lives in Poshley Heights and has supposedly changed for the better. Lord Crump. Lord Crump is the second highest ranking member of the X-Nauts and a recurring antagonist throughout the game. Despite his rank, all throughout the game, Crump is shown as being clumsy and a bit of an airhead. Grodus even calls him his, quote, most incompetent underling, unquote. Crump appears numerous times throughout the game, starting with the prologue where he fights Mario in the very first battle, which, by the way, is impossible to lose. Later on, he returns as the boss of Chapter 2 with his Magnus von Grapple mecha suit. Then he disguises himself as someone called Four Eyes and joins Mario on his journey on Keel Hall Key. When he finally reveals his true identity, he and Mario's crew engage in a grand naval battle, which results in Crump's defeat. Crump shows up again in the X-Naut Fortress for his last battle, where he uses his new and improved Magnus von Grapple 2.0 before ultimately losing and getting sent to outer space. His last appearance is at the end of the game, where he has seemingly decided to give up his evil ways. Shadow Sirens. The Shadow Sirens are a group made up of 3 witches: Beldam, the eldest, Marilyn, the middle one, and Vivian, the youngest, who eventually leaves to join Mario and is replaced by Dupless. They initially pose as hired help for Lord Grodus' plan for world domination, but it is later revealed that they were actually servants of the legendary Shadow Queen. They used Grodus and had him go through the trouble of reawakening their master for them. In the game's epilogue, Beldam and Marilyn tell Vivian that they would stop ostracizing her. With their relationship now mended, the 3 sirens finally settled down peacefully in Twilight Town. Dupless. Dupless is a dupla ghost who has the ability to copy the appearance of anyone while also being able to steal their body while doing so. He serves as the boss of Chapter 4, where he turns the inhabitants of Twilight Town into pigs whenever the bell tolls and steals Mario's name and body. When he was impersonating Mario, Dupless went around calling himself the savior of Twilight Town and even managed to convince Mario's partner that he was the real one. Mario, left without his appearance and name, meets Dupless, who tells him that if he could guess his real name, Mario could get his body back. However, the lowercase p is absent from the keyboard screen, which prevents Mario from guessing his name the first time around. Mario returns to the town and teams up with Vivian of the Shadow Sirens. After searching the creepy steeple, the duo not only find the lowercase p, but also learn that Dupless's real name is Rumple. Mario confronts Dupless again, but even after guessing his name correctly, it only manages to weaken the spell. After one last battle, Mario finally regains his appearance and name while Dupless runs off. He eventually joins the Shadow Sirens and helps them in their various attempts at defeating Mario, none of which are successful. He reappears later on in Chapter 7 while disguised as Professor Frankly, leading Mario into the Palace of Shadow, where he fights him there with Beldam and Marilyn. After everything is said and done, Dupless leaves the prankster life behind and becomes an actor, and even finds himself acting alongside Flurry in a play, Shadow Queen, an ancient being who appeared 1,000 years before the start of the game. She waged war against the city of Rogueport and was ultimately successful. Following her victory, the Queen set her sights on the world, and in order to accomplish her goal, she created various servants such as the Shadow Sirens and the 3 dragons, Hooktail, Gloomtail, and Bonetail. Then she created the Crystal Stars, which hold the essence of the heavens, and hid them in various places all around the world, using them as a way to extend her influence. She also created the Pit of 100 Trials and would throw in it any and all who dared oppose her. However, when it seemed that the Shadow Queen was unbeatable, the legendary 4 heroes gathered the Crystal Stars and used their power to seal the ancient queen. A whole millennium later, thanks to the Shadow Sirens' plan, the queen was brought back to life and inserted herself inside of the one meant to be her vessel, Princess Peach. However, she wouldn't enjoy her freedom for very long, as Mario and his companions, aided by the powers of all those they met during their journey, as well as the princess herself, engaged in one last battle to seal the Shadow Queen once and for all. Partners. Goombella. Goombella is a second-year student at the University of Goom, majoring in archaeology, and is also an ex-student of Professor Frankly. She's the first partner to join Mario after he rescues her from Lord Crump right after Mario arrives in Rogueport. She's the one who leads Mario to Professor Frankly, which sets in motion the main quest of the game of finding the 7 crystal stars. Goombella is knowledgeable of a variety of myths and legends, and she always carries with her a book that she uses to search information on enemies when she uses her Tattle ability. At the end of the game, she officially becomes Professor Frankly's assistant. Koops. Koops is a Koopa Troopa hailing from Petalburg and is Mario's second partner. When he is first met, Koops tries to ask Mario something, but his shyness causes him to fumble and run away. The second time, however, he is able to overcome his shyness and fear and asks to accompany Mario and Goombella to Hooktail's castle to avenge his presumably dead father. Even after beating Hooktail and learning that his father was still alive, Koops decides to stay by Mario's side in order to return a stronger man. In the epilogue, Koops finally returns home and plans to marry his girlfriend Koopy Koo alongside running for mayor of Petalburg. Flurry. Flurry is a wind spirit and actress who, eventually, got tired of the spotlight and retired to a house in the Bogly Woods, where she befriended the puny tribe. Mario first comes to her because her wind powers could reveal the secret entrance to the Great Tree. However, she only joins the party after Mario retrieves her necklace, which turns out to be in the possession of the Shadow Sirens. She eventually re-enters the world of show business and together with Dupless starts a play titled, quote-unquote, Paper Mario, which is a retelling of the events of the game. Mini Yoshi. Due to some circumstances in Chapter 3, Mario ends up in the custody of a moving egg. This happens while he and his companions were fighting their way up the ranks of Glitzville's Glitz Pit. Just as they were about to enter the Major League, Mario finds himself facing the roadblock known as the Armored Harriers, whose defensive abilities force our plumber to flee the fight. When he returns to the minor league's locker room, the egg is no more, and instead is Mini Yoshi. Thanks to his gulp skill, the party managed to beat the Armored Harriers and continued on in the tournament. Throughout the game, Yoshi is shown to possess a level of cockiness and isn't afraid of opponents that are bigger than him. He also calls Mario Gonzalez because that is how he heard people address Mario while he was still in his egg. After the Shadow Queen's defeat, Yoshi enters the Glitz Pit under the pseudonym The Great Gonzalez Jr. and is supposedly close to fighting for the title. Vivian. Vivian is an ex-member of the Shadow Sirens and serves as Mario's fifth party member. After getting his name and appearance stolen from him by Dupless, Mario returns to Twilight Town only to find Vivian alone, who was tasked with finding a bomb that Beldum had lost. Upon seeing her, Mario decides to help her find it, only for them to find out that the bomb is broken. Nevertheless, Vivian thanks Mario and decides to help him regain what was taken from him, all the while unaware that she is interacting with her enemy. When Mario finally gets his name and appearance back, Vivian hesitates at the thought of helping him fight Dupless. However, it only takes 2 turns for her to rejoin his side. Her reasoning is that, unlike her sisters, Mario treated Vivian with kindness and never made fun of her. After defeating Dupless, Mario's other partners start questioning Vivian's true intentions, but the plumber stands up for her, and after giving him the Ruby Star, she officially joins the team. In her epilogue, it is implied that Vivian developed a crush on Mario, but decided against pursuing anything, and instead settled down with her fellow Sirens, now that the relationship had been mended. Admiral Bobbery. The Admiral is possibly Mario's 6th or 7th party member. He is a Bob-omb, a skilled sailor who, after the death of his wife Scarlet, was so overcome with grief that he gave up on his love of the sea. However, in Chapter 5, Mario finds himself in need of his sailing skills, and after delivering to him a secret letter from his deceased love, he decides to set sail once again. However, during their travel, Mario and his crew get attacked by a group of embers, but still somehow manage to arrive at Keelhaul Key, their destination. After searching the island, Mario finds a barely conscious Bobbery pleading for a last sip of his favorite drink, a Chocola Cola. Thankfully, Bobbery merely falls asleep, and after Mario wakes him up, decides to join the party. At the end of the adventure, Bobbery returns to his old habits by joining the pirate skeleton Cortez and sailing with him. Miss Mouse. Miss Mouse is a badge thief whose real identity is a regular squeak selling badges at the lovely House of Badges. Mario encounters her a couple of times during his quest for the Crystal Stars and in each of their meetings, she never fails to flirt with the plumber, causing various reactions from the other party members. Unlike everyone else, Mouse is actually an optional party member, and depending on the player, she can either be the 6th or 7th member of Mario's party. After completing Chapter 4, Mario can accept an anonymous request titled Elusive Badge from the Trouble Center. After following some instructions, Mario learns that the requester is Ms. Mouse, and that she wants him to find a hidden badge inside of Hooktail's room. If Mario goes back there and uses Flurry's wind power, a chest containing the badge attack FXB reveals itself. After bringing the badge to the mouse, she reveals that this whole quest was just a way for her to test Mario's abilities at finding badges, and if he proved himself capable, she would join him, which is exactly what she does. From that point on, the shop is managed by her assistant, but after the game's climax, she gets back to running the place. Important NPCs. Princess Peach, the princess of the Mushroom Kingdom, once again, plays a pivotal role in this story. Her part of the story begins well before Mario's. While on a trip, the princess and her crew make a quick stop into Rogueport. With Toadsworth out to take care of some business, Princess Peach is left alone to walk around and enjoy the sights of Port Town. During her stroll, she meets a cloaked woman who later turns out to be Beldam of the Shadow Sirens, who gives her a chest that can supposedly only be opened by a maiden that is pure of heart. The princess was successfully able to open the mysterious chest, much to Beldam's joy. Soon after opening the chest, the princess gets kidnapped by the alien group, the X-Nauts. Shortly after, however, the aliens discover that what was inside the chest, the magical map, wasn't in Peach's possession anymore. Instead, she had already sent it to Mario. When she regains consciousness, Peach is inside the X-Nauts' headquarters on the moon. While she ponders what to do next, the doors suddenly start opening up by themselves. Intrigued, the princess leaves her room and finds herself in a room with a giant supercomputer called Tech XX. Due to a short circuit in his system, Tech develops an interest for the princess and eventually falls in love with her. The computer then decides that as compensation for teaching him various things about love, the princess could send an email to Mario. This weird relationship would go on for several chapters until Grodus learns of Tech's actions and shuts him down, all the while deciding to take the princess to the Palace of Shadow. When Mario finally reaches her, he learns of Peach's true role in all of this. She was to be used as a vessel by the reincarnated Shadow Queen. Despite beating Grodus, he still manages to reawaken the Queen, who manages to take control of the princess's body. The Queen, however, finds Peach's body too weak and decides to take her true form instead. In that moment, the princess is able to give Mario and his friends some power to allow them to fight back against the Shadow Queen and ultimately beat her. After the fight, the princess, Mario, Luigi, and Toadsworth all leave Rogueport to return to the Mushroom Kingdom. Bowser. Bowser's role in this story is less important than usual due to the fact that he isn't the one who captured the princess, which he is especially upset about. Therefore, he mainly appears in the interludes where he gets himself involved in all sorts of misadventures. However, he does appear in the main story. First is when he makes a surprise appearance at the Glitz Pit after Mario reaches rank 5. He claims to have heard stories of a man with a mustache fighting in the area and decided to join. The two rivals end up fighting like they usually do, but no matter if Bowser wins or loses, he leaves the city soon after. His last appearance in the main quest is at the Palace of Shadows, where he and Kamek are on a quest to take Princess Peach alongside the treasure that is supposedly hidden there. At the same time, Mario and Grodus were having their grand battle that gets interrupted when Bowser's weight makes him fall through the floor and land right on top of Sir Grodus. Completely unaware of what is going on, Bowser declares that he is going to end everything now and drags Kamek in one last battle against Mario. After he is defeated, Bowser and Kamek are left dazzled on the floor of the room, and if the player leaves and returns, they seem to have both disappeared. Professor Frankly. Professor Frankly is the old teacher of both Goombella and Colorado from the first Paper Mario. According to Goombella's Tattle information, Frankly is the head of the archaeology department at U-Goom, and he's here in Rogueport to research the legendary treasure. Over the course of the game, the professor helps Mario and his friends by giving them hints and pointers to the locations where each crystal star is shown on the magical map. After Mario gets the final star from the X-Nauts fortress, the professor is abducted by the Shadow Sirens and is replaced by Dupless impersonating him. Following Grodus' orders, he leads Mario into opening the Thousand-Year Door so the latter can enter the Palace of Shadow. During the Shadow Queen's reawakening, the real Frankly is seen quivering in fear in a darkened room inside the palace. After the Queen is defeated, Frankly reappears and reveals that he's found the real treasure of the legend, but it turned out only to be a dried shroom. Frankly finds joy in that because to him it proves that the ancient inhabitants of the city ate mushrooms. The Punies and the Jabbies. The Punies are a special of small insect-like creatures who live inside the Great Tree. In Chapter 2, the Punies' home gets invaded by the X-Nauts, and as a result, a large number of them end up getting kidnapped. Mario decides to help free them, and as compensation, they help him find his way to the Crystal Star. On the way, Mario even leads the Punies in 2 battles against their bitter rivals, the Jabbies, which are a small mosquito-like creatures who also live in the Great Tree. It's revealed that the Jabbies actually allied themselves with the X-Nauts in order to take control of the tree. After the events of Chapter 2, the 2 tribes finally make peace and learn to coexist with one another. Don Pianta. Don Pianta, or the Don of the Untimely Death, is the boss of the Pianta Syndicate who rules the west side of Rogueport. He is the one who gives Mario tickets to take the cheap blimp in exchange that he finds his missing daughter Francesa and his underling Frankie. After he learns of their relationship, Don reluctantly gives them his blessings and gives Mario the tickets. Later in Chapter 6, Mario revisits Don's place because this time he needs tickets for the XS Express. However, he instead finds the boss ill from his daughter leaving. His subordinates Vinny and Tony propose that if Mario can bring Francesca back there, they would give him tickets. Mario then returns to Keel Hall Key, and after notifying the female Pianta of her father's condition, she and her fiancé return to Don's side. The moment he sees her, the boss's condition instantly improves, and he realizes that the stress of his job is taking a toll on his health. He then decides to appoint Frankie as the new boss of the Syndicate and quietly retires, spending the rest of the game in the Pianta parlor. Grubba. Grubba is an ex-fighter wrestler turned manager and fight promoter at the Glitz Pit in Glitzville. Grubba grew up poor, but after getting into martial arts, he found a lot of success. However, as time went on, his age started taking a toll on his body, and he eventually retired to become the promoter of the Glitz Pit. Despite retiring, Grubba still longed for the strength and energy he had in his youth. After getting possession of the Gold Crystal Star, he built a machine that could suck the energy of fighters and transfer it to him. Eventually, he got caught by the very first champion of the Glitz Pit, Prince Mush, but the latter unfortunately got his energy sucked and was claimed to be missing for a long time. His older sister Jolene got curious around her little brother's sudden disappearance and was hired as Grubba's assistant. One day, she accidentally witnessed Grubba turning into his powered-up form of Macho Grubba. Now aware of the truth behind the Glitz Pit, Jolene decided to wait for a fighter that could take on Grubba, only to find Mario. Under the pseudonym X, she carefully guides him so that he can take down Grubba once and for all. With the incident of Grubba taken care of, Jolene becomes the new manager and referee of the Glitz Pit. Cortez. Cortez serves as the boss of Chapter 5. According to the information seller Wonky, when Cortez was alive, he would frequently raid Rogueport using his vessel the Black Skull, but got betrayed by one of his crewmates one day. Shortly before his death, he took sail with all of his treasure in order to hide it. Unfortunately for him, the Skull Gem, which is the one thing that powers his ship, was stolen by Flavio's ancestors. With no Skull Gem, Cortez had no way of leaving Keel Hall Key and perished with only his spirit remaining to protect his treasure. Back into the main story, the reason why Cortez fights Mario is because he believes that the plumber wants to steal all of his precious treasure. And when Mario beats the pirate, the latter reveals that since he is undead, he is basically invincible. Thankfully, Mario is able to explain that he is only interested in the sapphire crystal star. Hearing that, the skeleton simply gives the star away, noting that he didn't care for it much anyway. Just before the chapter ends, one of the members of Mario's crew, Four Eyes, reveals himself to be Lord Crump and starts attacking the island. Mario returns to Cortez's lair and asks him if they can use his ship, a request that he refuses, not only because he doesn't want his ship to be used for just any reason, and also because without the Skull Gem, it can't function. Flavio then shows Cortez that he is in possession of the gem, and after threatening to throw it into the water, Cortez reluctantly agrees to help the crew defeat Lord Crump. From then on, Cortez is always found in Rogueport's docks and grants Mario the ability to return to the key. After the game's climax, Cortez joins Admiral Bobbery, and the two go on to sail the world. Smorg. The Smorg is the boss of Chapter 6 and is essentially a bunch of smaller Smorgs fused together. They are first encountered in Riverside Station, but after Mario finishes up his business there, they infiltrate the train and kidnap the other passengers. After getting defeated, the Smorgs disperse and are lost to the wind, never to be seen again. Pennington. Pennington is a bumpty detective with whom Mario teams up to solve the many mysteries of the Excess Express. Despite referring to himself as the penguin with the improbably large brain, Pennington doesn't actually help much in solving the crimes, and it's mostly Mario, that he refers to as Luigi, who does all the work. His lack of skill makes sense, however, because when Mario arrives at Poshley Heights, Pennington reveals that his real occupation is being the manager of the city's sanctum, and that being a detective is simply a hobby of his. Pennington's character is clearly inspired by two famous fictional detectives, Sherlock Holmes and Hercule Poirot. The mysteries of the Excess Express are clearly referencing Murder on the Orient Express, in which Poirot is the main character. Not only that, Pennington's name in Japanese, French, Italian, and Spanish all reference Hercule Poirot in some way. His Spanish name, Olmot, also references Sherlock Holmes. To add to that, his catchphrase, rudimentary, is an obvious reference to Holmes, elementary. Flavio. Flavio is a 25-year-old entrepreneur living in Rogueport. He owns a lot of ships, with his favorite being the SS Flavion. He's also in possession of the Skull Gem. He's the one Mario turns to when he needs to go to the Kill Hall Key. Flavio accepts only if he can keep Cortez's treasure, and if Mario manages to convince Admiral Bobbery to join them. On the island, Flavio's gem becomes a really important item as it allows Mario to enter the Pirate's Grotto, and it's also what he uses to convince Cortez to help the crew at the end of the chapter. After the whole ordeal, Flavio gets insurance for his wrecked boat, and as a result becomes the second richest man in Rogueport. The Four Heroes. The Shadow Queen caused destruction everywhere she went, and with her influence growing because of the crystal stars, it seemed like nothing could stop her. Then, when all hope seemed lost, a toad from Petalburg, a Goomba from the Boogly Woods, a world-traveling Koopa, and a Boo got together in order to stop the Shadow Queen. Their plan was to collect the crystal stars and use them against their creator in order to seal her. Their plan managed to succeed, however. Not only was the seal on the Queen temporary, but she was also able to inflict a curse on the four heroes. The curse was simple. If they let go of the crystal stars, they would get trapped into a black chest. Those are the same black chests who curses Mario, giving him the various paper abilities. Since they knew the seal on the Queen was temporary, the heroes decided to create a magical map and stored it inside a chest that could only be opened by the pure of heart. Their wish was that since only a pure person could open the chest, then evil would not be able to get their hands on all the stars. The toad collapsed in Petal Meadows and asked a traveling healer to hide the diamond star somewhere safe. He turned into the black chest inside Hooktail's castle. The Goomba gave the Emerald Star to the Punies, who have kept it safe for the past 1,000 years. She turned into a chest in the Rogueport sewers. The Koopa wanted to hide the Sapphire Star on Keelhaul Key, but instead got defeated by Cortez. Due to being exhausted, he had no chance of winning, and so he turned into the chest in the Pirate's Grotto. Finally, the Boo hid the Ruby Star in Twilight Town. She turned into a chest in a shop's storage room. The Three Dragons. The Shadow Queen gave birth to a slew of different servants. Amongst those are the Three Dragons: Bonetail, the eldest, Gloomtail, the middle brother, and Hooktail, the younger sister. According to Grifty, the dragon siblings went around the world terrorizing anyone they could find. In the game, Hooktail is stationed at the top of her castle, Bonetail is found in the Palace of Shadow guarding the Star Key, and finally, Bonetail is at the lowest level of the Pit of 100 Trials. As a result of not getting anything to eat for hundreds of years, Bonetail eventually died of old age, with only its bones remaining. No one really knows why Bonetail was put inside the pit in the first place. Wonky. Wonky is an information seller living in the Rogueport sewers. For 5 coins, he will give the player information on various things from legends about Cortez to gossip about numerous NPCs in the game. Grifty. Grifty is a minstrel who, just like Wonky, sells information for 5 coins. Grifty mainly focuses on stories regarding the 4 heroes and the Shadow Queen, while also throwing tidbits about Hooktail, the Great Tree, and Cortez. Podley. Podley runs a soda bar called Podley's Place. As he opened up shop years ago, he knows a lot about the people living in Rogueport. He's actually the one who informs Mario about the reason behind Admiral Bobbery's depression, and he's the one Scarlet entrusted with her final words to her beloved. Unfortunately, Podley never found the courage to give the letter to the Admiral, and instead pleaded with Mario to do it in his stead. A Trouble Center request reveals that he used to be romantically involved with Eve, a resident of Twilight Town, but various things happened which caused them to separate. Zest Tea. Zest Tea is a grumpy old toad that serves as the game's master chef. After stomping on her contact lenses, Mario became acquainted with Zest Tea, who forced him to buy her a new pair of lenses, otherwise he wouldn't have access to the west side of Rogueport. According to Wonky, Zest Tea only bakes couples cake to people who have gained her favor because it reminds her of her dead husband. It then implies that despite her sour attitude, she does have a soft spot for Mario. Wonky also shares that Zest Tea is the sister of Taste Tea from the first Paper Mario. Charlieton. Charlieton is a traveling merchant who likes to rip people off. He sells rare badges and items, and if Mario buys all of his merchandise, he thanks him for putting his kids through college. Dupree. Dupree is a Dugan who appears multiple times throughout the game. He sports a pink afro and speaks with a French accent. He has a habit of flirting, which the women in the game, especially Goombella, do not appreciate at all. In the various places he appears, he seems to get himself in trouble, like getting turned into a pig, getting accused of flirting with a shopkeeper in Twilight Town, and getting thrown out of the inn in Far Outpost for flirting with its Babam owner. Locations. Prologue. Where everything starts and the main hub of the game, Rogueport. Rogueport used to be a thriving place. However, the birth of the Shadow Queen and the destruction she brought about decimated the city. After the Shadow Queen's defeat at the hands of the 4 heroes, the town of Rogueport was built into what is seen in the game, with the ruins of the ancient city being located underground in the Rogueport sewers. The town is separated into 5 sections: the north, the west, the plaza, the docks, and the east. As its name suggests, Rogueport is full of bandits and ill-intentioned residents, though those types are mostly found on the east side. The west side is much more secure and is where the rich folks live. The area is also under Don Pianta's control and is where his casino and shop are located. The population of Rogueport is quite diverse since Goombas, Dugans, bandits, Piantas, Babams, and Kras can all be found scattered across the 5 sections. The Rogueport sewers, on the other hand, are a chain of rooms with a small town and plenty of mysterious areas like the Thousand-Year Door and the Pit of 100 Trials. Inside the town, there's a shop selling rare items, and badges can be bought from a merchant called Dazzle. What's more, Merle of Lee is found here, and for different sums can give Mario hints about the location of star pieces, shine sprites, or what to do next on his adventure. Wonky, the information seller, is also resident of the sewers. The sewers have numerous warp pipes leading to the main areas of the game, alongside special blue pipes for faster travel. Chapter 1. Mario's search for the Crystal Stars starts with the Petal Meadows, in which are found the town of Petalburg, the Shawonk Fortress, and Hooktail's Castle. The Meadows is a plateau full of flowers that leads straight into Petalburg. The town is peaceful and is inhabited by Koopas, Toads, and some Bubulbs. The mayor is an old Koopa named Kroop, and it's also the hometown of Koops. While normally laid back and tranquil, Hooktail has been terrorizing the villagers for numerous years by now, and the townspeople are hoping for someone to help them get rid of the dragon. Further east is the Shawonk Fortress, which is where the Sun and Moon Key are kept. Both items are necessary to access Hooktail's castle. It is also in this fortress that Mario has to participate in the super fun quirk quiz hosted by the Thwomp who guards the place. Finally, there is Hooktail's castle. The castle was initially built by the Shadow Queen to guard one of the Crystal Stars. However, it is not sure if Hooktail was specifically assigned there or if the place was vacant and she simply took over. The in-game map description of the place does state that it was built to, quote-unquote, accommodate Hooktail's built, meaning that the castle was more than likely meant for her from the start. The castle is full of Koopa remains, most notably Colorado's father. It also features tons of traps and torture rooms. One hidden room also contains an up arrow, which allows Merlin to rank up Mario's partners one more level. At the top, the dragon Hooktail dutifully guards the Diamond Star. Chapter 2. Mario's journey continues and leads him into the Boggly Woods, a large forest whose trees are black and white and whose ground is colored like a rainbow. The area is a strange mix of calm and eerie and is chock full of monochrome enemies. As there is no town nor city there, only nature and tranquility, Flurry thought it was the perfect spot for her estate. Within the Boggly Woods is the Great Tree where the Puny and Jabai tribes live. The tree houses a secret shop alongside a treasure chest containing the Super Boots. In the depths of this giant tree is the Emerald Star, which has been hidden for centuries by the Puny tribe. Chapter 3. After helping the Punies of the Great Tree, Mario heads toward the floating city of Glitzville. Glitzville is a popular spot where people come to enjoy themselves. Due to being a floating city, the most conventional way to reach it is by taking the cheap blimp. While the city contains a hot dog shop, a souvenir shop, and a juice bar, its main attraction is the Glitz Pit, an area where the world's best martial artists compete against one another to become the champion. Many rich folk come to Glitzville in order to bet on the fighters of the Glitz Pit. Chapter 4. After exposing the truth behind the Glitz Pit, Mario continues his quest and reaches Twilight Town. It is a small town with only a few houses, an inn, and a shop. The town is inhabited by doll-like creatures called Twilighters, with a couple of crows hanging on the village's trees. This area can be accessed by using a pipe found in the Rogueport sewers. However, the pipe only works if the person writes their name on their clothes. Twilight Town is plagued with an odd curse. Every time the bell of the creepy steeple tolls, a random number of inhabitants get turned into pigs. To the east of the creepy town is Twilight Trail, which is a simple trail full of dead trees leading all the way into the creepy steeple. It is the home of many boos, including the Atomic Boo, but most importantly of Dupless, the boss of the chapter. The estate contains a number of areas like a garden, a dungeon, a cave, a kitchen, a room for Dupless's pet parrot, and the Dupligost's own room. There's a hidden passage in the northern corridor that leads to a golden tree, which is the only source of golden leaves in the entire game. Chapter 5. The next crystal star is located on an island called Keelhaul Key, which Mario is able to reach thanks to Flavio and Admiral Bobbery's help. Keelhaul is a large area isolated from civilization. As such, the island is mostly made up of hostile enemies and lush greenery. Due to the island's lack of civilization, the shop and inn had to be built and are run by two toads. Those two toads, alongside other members of the crew, decide to stay on the island even after the chapter is over. The Sapphire Star is located inside Pirate's Grotto, which is a series of caverns and water streams. With various wrecks floating about in the water, in order to enter the grotto, Flavio's skull gem is mandatory. Deep below, Cortez's ship, the Black Skull, is docked. The in-game map description implies that it used to be a place where many pirates would hide themselves. Chapter 6. The next destination is Poshley Heights, but in order to reach it, Mario has to embark on the XS Express. It is a luxurious train made up of a locomotive, 3 passenger cars, a dining area, and a car for the baggage. It is within this train that the many misadventures of the chapter take place. At some point, the train takes a stop at Riverside Station in order to refuel for the rest of the journey. This time, however, the drawbridge has mysteriously been lifted, and the only way to get it down is by entering the station. Riverside is an old and abandoned station except for the monsters living in it, and these creatures called Smorgs. The map description tells of a time when there used to be a river flowing under the bridge. However, it dried up one day, and the area has been a pasture ever since. It is likely that the invasion of either the Smorgs or the enemies are behind the closure of the station. After finding the Ultra Boots and lowering the bridge, Mario allowed the XS Express's trip to continue. After battling the Smorgs, Mario finally reaches Poshley Heights, a city known for its hotels, rich folks, and its sanctum. Poshley Heights' population is quite interesting. Many of the rich NPCs like Goldbob and his family and Toodles are found visiting the place. Many bumpties like Pennington live there, and at the end of the game, Lady Bow and Bootler decide to go to take a vacation there. But even more surprising is that Lord Crump, Sir Grodus, and the X-Nauts also end up there. Otherwise, Poshley Heights' only place of interest is its sanctum, which houses the Garnet Star. Chapter 7. For the final Crystal Star, Mario is led to the icy region of Far Outpost. A cold area where it always snows, the enemies in the town's surroundings all have an ice or snow coloration. The town itself is inhabited primarily by Babam, who aren't very fond of strangers, and non-Babams. Those living here speak with a Russian accent and also wear Russian headwear. Mario heads there to use the town's Grand Boom, a giant cannon that can project him all the way to the moon, where the Crystal Star is located. After getting Gold Bomb and General White's approval, Mario is put inside the cannon and launched all the way to space. The moon has some interesting details. First, Goombella informs Mario that a Goomba once set foot on the moon in '69, referencing the Apollo 1 mission. Second, the moon is believed to grant wishes by the Twilighters. When Mario talks to a particular Twilighter, he is asked what he thinks is on the moon, and the two choices are Little Green Men or Princess Peach. Third and final thing, due to the actual moon's gravity, Mario's jumps are higher, but he moves way slower than usual, and that makes it hard for him to dodge the moon clefs hanging around while he makes his way to the X-Naut Fortress. The X-Naut Fortress is the main base of operations and home of the X-Nauts. It is where Princess Peach has been held captive for most of the game, and where the leader of the organization, Sir Grodus, resides. The fortress is a large building composed of 5 floors with labs, lockers, and traps all over the place. The X-Nauts HQ also contains a sort of factory-looking area with gears that Mario has to navigate through. At the end, Mario fights Lord Crump one last time in his new and improved Magnus Von Grapple 2.0. After defeating him, Mario finally gets in possession of the final Crystal Star. It's at that same time that he meets a weakened Tech who informs him that Grodus has taken the princess and left for the Palace of Shadow. The party had, however, no way of leaving the moon, but Tech showed them to the teleporter that Grodus and his henchmen used to get from the moon to Rogueport. With the last of his strength, Tech powers the teleporter and allows Mario to escape the fortress. Chapter 8. The final area of the game is the Palace of Shadow, accessible by going through the Thousand-Year Door. It is a large castle made up of multiple areas. The first room is one full of roses and intricate designs. It's followed by a bridge over a body of water. After this is a room with a large staircase leading Mario deep underground into a garden. Following the garden is an expansive plaza with the Riddle Tower at its center. After a fight against the Shadow Sirens and Dupless, Mario enters the lower and finds at the top an orrery. This orrery can only be activated by the Star Key, and to get the Star Key, Mario has to solve 8 riddles in order to receive 8 palace keys that he then has to insert into 8 doors, revealing the way to Gloomtail's room. After beating the dragon, Mario finally gets his hand on the Star Key, and after activating the orrery, he is led to a low room with plenty of enemies. The next area is one of the last ones and consists of a chamber with numerous pillars. Beyond this is the throne room where Grodus is fought. The final room is behind a secret door in the throne room that starts with a large staircase leading down the Shadow Queen's crypt where the final battle is held. We hope that you enjoyed this video and learned some new things about Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. And if you did, remember to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon. We upload a lot of Mario videos, specifically a lot of Paper Mario. This has been Jake with Game Domain, and thank you for watching.